This is the brief on Freud, Kant, and the contradictory nature of moral authority. Philosophers often try to kind of line up Freud's idea of the superego, that's our inner conscience, right, with Kant's pretty strict view of moral law. But, well, this analysis points out a key detail in Freud, one that's often missed, which really complicates that comparison. Okay, so let's break down the three key things you really got to know. First off, Freud's superego, it's got this unique double aspect. What that means is our inner voice kind of sets up this internal contradiction. It tells you, hey, you ought to be like this ideal. But at the same time, it's saying, nope, you can't actually be like that. So it basically pushes you to strive, but guarantees you feel like you fall short. Second, this contradictory superego isn't quite the same as Kant's moral self, which is more conflicted, between our reason and our human flaws. But they actually get closer when you look at Kant's idea of self-conceit. See, Kant says we have to strive for perfection, but we should never trick ourselves into thinking we've actually made it. Believing you're perfect, that's the self-conceit, and it's forbidden. It makes aiming for holiness kind of tricky, always out of reach for us. And finally, this whole double aspect thing, it really helps explain some common issues, like when we sometimes sabotage ourselves or feel like imposters. Because if the superego makes you anxious about both failing and succeeding, well, then the very source of your moral drive also generates resistance. So you might feel guilty even when doing well. So what it boils down to is this. Real moral maturity means accepting there's always going to be this unavoidable tension tied to our highest ideals.